Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus Show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. Colonel Tulsi Gabbard will be Donald Trump's nominee for Director of National Intelligence. Now, the DNI is among the most important appointments in the US intelligence community. The DNI is the executive head, in fact, of the entire US intelligence community of 18 intelligence agencies. The DNI's office also prepares the president's daily brief. And it goes without saying that this is yet another Trump appointment that should be received positively in New Delhi. Now, not only is Gabbard very pro-India, but she's also a known anti-war crusader. But she doesn't have the required intelligence experience of past office holders. She served for 2 years on the House Homeland Security Committee, and she's been accused in the past of appearing to work on behalf of Russia, allegations that were never proven. So it's no wonder then that her appointment for this powerful position that literally sits atop the nation's spy agencies and acts as the president's top intelligence advisor is raising eyebrows in the United States. But what's the significance of her appointment? Indeed, of all the recent Trump cabinet appointments like Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, John Ratcliffe and Mike Waltz. Joining me to discuss this are Ambassador Yogesh Gupta, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, and in the studio I have with me my colleague Deepak Bhadana. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus Show. Abhijit, I want to start by asking you this. You're on a tour of North America, I believe, to track the liberal meltdown in the face of Donald Trump's re-election and all his very, very interesting cabinet nominees. You know, make sense for us, Abhijit, these new names that we're hearing, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and of course, Tulsi Gabbard, like we were saying that the first Trump cabinet was all about generals and admirals and all that. This Trump cabinet seems to be young, Gen Y colonels and lieutenant colonels. Abhijit.
Thanks, Sandeep. I was interviewing, my brief was entirely limited to interviewing Hindus and political leaders on the issue the Hindu community faces out there. As for Trump, what he's doing is very interesting. There is this belief somehow that unless you are validated by a bunch of self-validating old people sitting in think tanks or, the Jobs for Boys circuit in DC,
Right.
and many Indians will be aware of this, right?
Yes.
You say anything on the military, they're like, have you taken 30 kilos and run 30 kilometers? Else you're not qualified to talk in the military.
Right.
So, it's that kind of an attitude where you have to gain the approval of policy lines that they take, and you have
Yes.
to pretend profound and this is the correct policy, and then they will praise you to the high heavens. What Trump is doing is he's
Yes.
bringing in all the people who have actually seen war, who have suffered war,
Right.
but take a very contrarian approach to things because they believe that the policy has been, in India,
Yes.
I think the issue always been it's retirees who hijack military policy.
Right.
In America, the problem is it is this non-military cabal
Right.
of self-validating thinkers that have completely hijacked all policy, not just military policy.
Right. Right.
Which is why, if you remember, they were so opposed to Trump's Middle East forays
Yes.
when he had sorted out more problems than the previous 15 presidents had collectively.
Absolutely.
Uh,
The
at
Abraham
Paris.
Accords.
So,
Yes.
you need that kind of new disruptive thinking. You can't keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again and
Yes.
expect different results. So,
Right.
everything you see, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard,
Yes.
human for the immigration as the borders are and things like
Right.
that.
Right.
All of them are people who have, created enemies in the system
Yes.
for basically being the boy who called out the emperor's new clothes.
Right, absolutely. And Abhijit, I'm going to come back to you on what you mentioned about the new disruptive thinking in the cabinet, and of course the fact that you are in Canada, Canada's Khalistan. Lots of questions there for you, but I want to bring in Ambassador Yogesh Gupta on this. Ambassador Gupta, we're used to a certain, profile for all cabinet appointees in the United States, and given the fact we are talking about them because they have enormous impact on India-US relations. What do you make of this new cabinet that Trump has put together, particularly in the intelligence community, when you have Tulsi Gabbard being appointed DNI, And I'm fully aware of the fact that the DNI is actually the agency that is in contact with our NSCS. In fact, they are the ones who do the intelligence sharing, the DNI and Ms. Doval's office, the NSCS. Break down for us the importance of these appointments that we are seeing. Very, very new faces, radically, fresh appointees like Tulsi Gabbard. Ambassador Gupta.
I will like to make 2-3 comments. First is that, as the previous speaker just said, see, a whole lot of activities of the Biden government was controlled by the deep state.
Yes.
And this deep state was run by a Democrat who was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
Right.
And it included people not only from the Congress and the Senate, as well as the administration, but also people who were economists, people who were from the think tanks,
yes.
people outside the government, from the business and so on. And these people were so powerful that they
yes.
could direct the president that you have to take a certain action.
Right.
Or you have to get rid of such and such person in such and such country. For instance, they ordered this regime change in Bangladesh.
Yes.
They ordered this regime change in India. It's
right.
another matter that they were not successful. But they made plenty of efforts.
Yes.
So, Trump has to get rid of these people. He has said that he's going to get rid of these people belonging to the deep state, right. as well as a large number of people in the US government who
right.
are aligned to the deep state or who are aligned to this woke ideology of the Democrats.
Right.
And for that, you need to have someone who firmly believes in your thinking, in your ideology, in your, thought process. And there comes the importance of Tulsi Gabbard or John Ratcliffe,
yes.
who have been named to the CIA.
Right.
Similarly, other appointments, there are 2-3 factors that are common. One is that all these people are very loyal to President Trump.
Yes.
Obviously, anyone who criticizes Trump is out.
Right.
So you see the Pompeos are out. You see the former UN ambassador, that lady, she is out.
Nikki Haley, yes.
Yeah, Haley, she is out, and so many others. The other thing is that Trump has gone in for people who are young, people who are professionals, people
yes.
who are good in technology, knowledge of technology, people who firmly belong to his way of thinking, to the
right.
Republican Party's way of thinking. He wants to bring a change. He wants to bring a huge change.
Right.
As they say, MAGA, make America great again.
Right.
He wants to bring a huge change in the government, and that's why you have this, fellow Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, chairing this Department of Government Efficiency. They want to study all these government regulations and, remove
absolutely.
all those
it's all
which
about
are
change, I think. It's MAGA and,
shorten the size of
yes.
the government, remove regulations, make the government more smarter, make
right.
the government more approachable, and so on.
Yes.
So all that is very good. All that is very good. And the good thing is, also another important point is that Trump is very clear. Biden was trying to coexist with China. Biden
right.
was trying to compete with China.
Yes.
But the Republicans, they want to beat China. They
right.
want to defeat China.
Right, absolutely. So, they're very clear on who the enemy is. I think there's no ambiguity on that. Yes.
They think that they have to win this rivalry against China.
Absolutely. But Ambassador Gupta, that point that you made about a very young cabinet and the fact that he's going in for a lot of millennials, Donald Trump. I'm going to ask Deepak Bhadana this, who's a millennial himself. Deepak, you've just been tracking the age profile of all of these cabinet appointees. Vivek Ramaswamy, 39. Elise Stefanik is 40. J.D. Vance, of course, is 40 as well. Matt Gaetz is 42. Tulsi Gabbard is 43. What's the larger message that Donald Trump is actually giving the Republican Party with these very young candidates? Is it like setting building up the Republican leadership of the future?
Certainly, and it's also a break from the past. See, if you look at like the traditional US policies, the
Yes.
administrations, the deep state or the establishment as it were,
Right.
it's all, in the grasp of people who come from a very select few Ivy League colleges.
Right.
It's the same families, the same people who've carried on an agenda for decades.
Yes.
Trump is breaking away from it, which is kind of not surprising, really.
Right. It's a gust of fresh air, the kind of appointees that he's brought in. The average age, as we were discussing, Deepak, yesterday of the SecDef Secretary State and the NSA is 49. And, on our side, it would be in the 70s, early 70s. So, I mean, you're going to be looking at a generational shift when our ministers meet Trump's new cabinet. But Abhijit was talking about the new disruptive thinking that Donald Trump is bringing in. And Abhijit, since you're in Canada right now, what does Trump and his cabinet mean for the Canadian Khalistan movement? Do you think it will accelerate calls for a Khalistan in British Columbia? They probably give up the fact that there's not going to be a Khalistan in India, Khalistan of their dreams, certainly.
So I actually returned back from the Republic of Khalistan to the Republic of India yesterday.
Right.
But, the thing is, we need to understand, Khalistanis are not a separatist movement.
Right.
What they are a drug cartel, a drug organized crime and gun running cartel
Yes.
that use secessionist rhetoric
Right.
to mask their criminal activities.
Yes.
And it's very successful, you see, because we keep falling into the trap because, the way the Indian government works
Right.
is that, unlike foreign governments where you put security on anything, water security,
Right,
energy
right.
security, it becomes high priority.
Yes.
Because security is sexy. In India, security doesn't get you any votes. So the moment you
Right.
put security on anything, a minister has no interest in it.
Yes.
It's exactly like that. The moment you say secessionist terrorists,
Yes.
ministers start taking notice. The officer who flags secessionism or terrorism gets promotions,
Yes.
is deemed very competent and things. And that is used. It's literally a bureaucratic and ministerial mindset
Right.
of prioritizing secessionism and terrorism
Right.
that is used against us in Canada. Now, what ends up happening is first, there are two things. We need to know that Trudeau's Liberal Party actively campaigned against Trump. So
Right.
Trump is going to have absolutely no love lost for Trudeau. Not that he had a very high opinion of Trudeau to begin
Yes.
with. Number one. Number two, the problem is Pierre Poilievre is possibly even more Khalistani than Justin Trudeau. You
Right.
look at the four people surrounding him. Jasraj is one. Parm Gill is the other.
Right.
Tim Uppal is the other. They and Arpan Khanna, who is a Hindu, but his wife is in the World Sikh Organization.
Right.
These people literally control access to him. They are complete Khalistanis.
Right.
They have all been seen around photos of Bhindranwale or Talvinder Singh Parmar.
Right.
And these are people who, will use this sort of Pierre Poilievre's fiscal conservatism affection that Trump has to get close to Trump.
Right.
And completely sort of insulate the organized crime problem that is Khalistan, which is why, we need serious recalibration of our foreign and domestic policy
Yes.
narratives now. If we need Trump to take action, and he will, we need to link this to his pet subjects.
Right.
Illegal immigration,
Yes.
organized crime, bad policing, infiltrated police. I mean, he of all people will know police are infiltrated because of all the lawfare cases run against him.
Yes.
How the intelligence community literally fabricated evidence against him. He'll understand all of that. We need to understand our talking points. My problem is Babu sitting in Delhi with their promotions and the ministers who give promotions based on secessionism, terrorism, alarmism will not do that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a very important point there, Abhijit. The fact that this is actually been completely infiltrated. The Khalistan movement has been completely infiltrated, if you can call it a movement, by drug cartels. It's literally been run by drug cartels. Deepak, you remember the drug super lab that they bust in
Exactly. It was
Canada? About
incredible.
$500 million worth of meth?
Enough to kill apparently several 100,000 people. It was like in tons. There was
Yes.
fentanyl, anything you can name of, and added to that are weapons.
Weapons and
Assault weapons.
enough to equip an infantry battalion of the numbers that we haven't seen
So
before.
the question
This is-
certainly is, what are they intending to do?
right.
Where are these weapons going to be used? Where is all that money, the proceeds going to?
Yes.
And this is something that indeed, people need to look into.
Ambassador Gupta, this point that Abhijit made about the fact that this is actually a drug racket, an illegal immigration racket, a gang lords, enterprise that's masking itself as the separatist movement. We've discussed that in the past as well. Do you think this new Trump administration and all of these new faces who are actually got zero tolerance on terrorism, they know who the enemy is, how does this make the grounds for a new India external affairs policy with regards to such bad characters that are freely operating in Canada? Ambassador Gupta.
Sandeep, I sincerely hope that the Republicans, including President Trump and his cabinet colleagues, will have a very different attitude towards these issues, because, the Democrats had started thinking that, look, we promoted China and then China is giving us so much trouble,
Yes.
and now India's economy is growing big, and therefore if India grows, India will also give us trouble. So it's better that you try to stymie India's development as much as possible. So you support Pakistan here, you support Bangladesh here, you
Yes.
support Khalistan here, you support terrorist insurgents in the northeast and so on. So, basically that was their thinking. But I think this kind of insecurity, President Trump, who is not a typical politician,
Right.
he's a businessman, and his thinking is very different. India doesn't harbor any ill will towards the US.
Right.
India is very far below the US in most parameters.
Yes.
We are not a competitor anywhere.
Right.
So I think for anyone in the US to be insecure about India's development is, I think, very, very childish, very, very premature, very, very, absolutely, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So we hope that the Republicans will have a different sort of attitude, because India is going to be the big economy, big market, contribute to the global economic growth, contribute. Our thinking on many issues is similar to that of President Trump, particularly when it comes to Indo-Pacific, the rising threats in the Indo-Pacific.
Right. Particularly the rise of
and other
China.
theaters.
Yes.
So I think my own feeling or my own view is that President Trump and his colleagues and his government will view this Khalistani thing very different from the Democrats. And I hope that our people are able to make a good case. And as the previous speaker said, I think
Yes.
we have to really change the narrative.
We have to change the narrative indeed. And Ambassador Gupta, I'm going to go back to Abhijit on changing the narrative. Abhijit, the fact that of course Khalistan, the so-called Canadian Khalistan movement, is one. The other is the kind of pressure that we've been seeing, this combined Five Eyes pressure that we saw in a couple of other cases where this alleged plot to assassinate Gurpatwan Singh Pannu and many other subtle cases about alleged interference in India's northeast and all that. You think there's going to be a radical shift in the Trump administration when it comes to these kind of cases where India is extremely sensitive about? Abhijit.
I think there will be a significant shift in most cases, but not the northeast, because that is Methodists and Presbyterians hold quite a bit of sway in this government,
Right.
and they'll at least want talking points, which I think Trump will do. He'll probably raise talking points, but it won't be more than talking points, because Trump knows there are bigger deals than raising issues that he and his State Department don't know much about.
Right.
Number one. Number two, remember, he is based on outcomes, not on process.
Right.
He knows what to do to get those outcomes. I think he will be much more fixated on India, reorienting its defense and military strategy towards a more American style of things, buying American equipment, because he has to deliver at home.
Yes.
And you can either have moral lectures or you can have, I can't keep abusing Sandeep Unnithan 24/7 and then expect Sandeep Unnithan to call me on his TV program.
Right.
Now, it's exactly like that. You can't expect to buy American weapons if you keep, bad-mouthing us and things like that, number one. Number two, where it comes to the Five Eyes, I would say that there was significant fissure
Right.
in the Five Eyes even in this latest round. I would point you to the UK statement, which was, in my opinion, wrongly indicated as being pro-Canada. What did that statement say? It said we had full confidence in Canada's judiciary.
Right.
It did not mention Canada's police. It did not mention the CSIS, Canadian intelligence. It did not mention the Canadian government. It certainly didn't mention Canadian rule of law that Trudeau likes to trumpet.
Right.
Basically, what the people were telling the Canadians was, intel is not justiciable. You make a justiciable case based on evidence, take it to the courts, get an extradition order, and of course, we'll support you out there.
Right.
Australia never even issued a statement. New Zealand issued a statement. America at best said what? It should be investigated.
Right.
We wish the Indians weren't so touchy about these things. This isn't really support for Canada. If you look at, Litvinenko's murder, or the Leicester,
Salisbury poisoning.
The Salisbury poisoning. You look at the kind of support the Five Eyes gave the UK, it was substantially
Right.
greater. That was actually support.
Yes.
This is actually hedging, hoying, and massive equivalences being created.
Right. Right, absolutely. But Abhijit, before I go, one more quick question to you. The fact that, the Trump cabinet is packed with so many China hawks. All of these nominees have, made their views on China very clear that that is actually enemy number one, and they've been very vociferous about calling China out. Do you see a change in Trump's stance vis-a-vis China, or is it going to be a good cop, bad cop kind of thing that he unleashes his cabinet guys on China and then says, hey, listen, let's cut a deal with Xi Jinping?
I think they're very clear that manufacturing can't stay with China. Remember, he was the president during COVID, and it was during COVID that the entire semiconductor crisis happened, where car sales and everything else was stalled because China was artificially controlling semiconductor supplies to the rest of the world.
Right.
Now, Biden's credit, he did impose very significant tariffs and things like that on Chinese dumping. But it has always been Trump 1 and Trump 2, that are much, much more focused on China militarily. One of the reasons Europe hates him is because he is not Eurocentric, he's Asia-centric. Now, Europe loves to think of itself as the center of the universe.
Yes.
When in fact, Europe is increasingly becoming irrelevant. The richest European country is poorer than the poorest poorest American state, which is either Alabama or Mississippi or something like that.
Right.
Germany is poorer than Alabama or Mississippi. Trump is very clear. Your junior partners, you stay in your corner. I have bigger fish to fry. That's going to be China, and he's going to focus on China. And the very fact that he has hawks like that is, it's indication enough.
It's indication enough, indeed. Ambassador Gupta, a cabinet filled with China hawks, possibly of the kind that we've never seen in recent times. Is Trump signaling to Xi Jinping that he means business? He's walking the talk on China, or is it something else to it, that this will actually help him cut a deal with China, possibly, in areas other than manufacturing?
I think the Republicans are going to be taking much more tougher attitude, at China, and certainly, the kind of dumping that China is making of its EVs and photovoltaics, solar photovoltaics, and so on.
Yes.
I think those have to be handled very, very carefully, because the world doesn't have the capacity to absorb the amount of goods that China is trying to dump.
Yes.
And therefore, US and other countries are going to raise their voice and going to sort of put up duties against China. And also, the other issue that is becoming very important is that world is not feeling safe and secure and happy with China-centric supply chains. It wants to distribute the supply chains in other localities, in other countries, bring them back home. Trump is very keen on bringing manufacturing back home, bringing in friendly countries, and so on. So that's another change, that's going to happen. That was also initiated by the Democrats, but it's going to get much more pronounced under Trump. And So I think we should see a much more tougher line at China under Trump.
Absolutely. Should see a much tougher line on China under Trump, and Trump seems to be walking the talk, Deepak, when it comes to China. And clearly, as his cabinet appointees suggest, a cabinet filled with hawks. And the latest surprise, of course, is the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who we started the show by talking about. But that's all we have time for this evening. Thank you very much, Ambassador Yogesh Gupta, Abhijit, Iyer, Mitra, and my colleague Deepak Bhadana for joining us on the show. Maharashtra votes next week on the 20th of November. Now, the ruling Mahayuti alliance led by the BJP, the Shiv Sena, the Shinde faction, and the NCP Ajit Pawar and the Mahavikas Aghadi are battling each other. The MVA, of course, comprises Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena, Sharad Pawar's NCP, and the Indian National Congress. Now, both formations are neck and neck. At least that's what it appears right now. But the focus of these elections is on the house of Pawar. Sharad Pawar is a politician who switched sides 4 times in his political career. His nephew, Ajit Pawar, has switched political parties also 4 times in the past. Now, will the house of Pawar switch sides if the results are close? That's a possibility we're going to be talking about this evening. And I have with me today Kiran Tare, editor of The Perfect Voice, senior journalist Reni Abraham, and in the studio is my colleague Brijesh Pandey. Brijesh, let's start by talking about what's going on in Maharashtra right now. The guy making the most news and the loudest noise is Ajit Pawar. Why is Ajit Pawar afraid? What's he afraid of?
I mean, I think more than afraid, I think he's settling his score with the BJP.
Right.
The reason why I say is that, ever since the loss in Lok Sabha election,
yes.
the BJP and the Mahayuti, they have gone on to say that he's one of the big reasons why
the
we lost
weakest
this
link in the
weakest link.
coalition.
And also the RSS workers and leaders saying
right.
that, him getting into Mahayuti led to the debacle of
right.
Of the entire formation.
Yes.
So what he's doing is that, like, if you look at his statement which he gave to a news website 2-3 days back,
yes.
Everyone knows the kind of equation Sharad Pawar shares with Gautam Adani.
Right.
But his statement where he says that Amit Shah was present there, Gautam Adani was present there,
yes.
Devendra Fadnavis was present
5
there.
years back.
It
yes.
has given an ammo to the Mahavikas Aghadi, who has
right.
gone hammer and tongs, conveniently, choosing to ignore the Sharad Pawar presence and his angle,
right.
and went hammer and tong, and it refurbished the Congress assertion that Gautam Adani is playing
He's
a big
calling
role.
the shots
He's
in
calling the
Maharashtra.
shots and everything.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, like, one of the Hindutva slogan which has caught the fancy
right.
of hardcore BJP supporters is
yes.
"Batoge to katoge," and which
yes.
has found a big fanfare in the recently concluded Haryana election.
Absolutely.
Ajit Pawar was the first one to say, "Ye Maharashtra mein nahi chalta." And now you have, a Pankaja Munde. Now you have a couple of others
yes.
openly saying. Ashok Chavan today said
right.
in an interview to news agency that, boss, this is not the slogan of Maharashtra.
Batenge to
Batenge is not for Maharashtra. So, all of a sudden,
right.
Ajit Pawar has taken on BJP itself
right.
rather than taking on Mahavikas.
Ajit Pawar taking on the BJP itself, and he's the wild card in the BJP led alliance. But Kiran Tare, you've been tracking the house of Pawar for over 2.5 years. Tell us what the new episode of this, this ongoing drama means for us. This Ajit Pawar, why is he suddenly, putting out all these statements? And what are the possibility that he could, make a 5th switch in his political career, go back, to his uncle after the elections?
I think Ajit Pawar's recent statement, we have to look from the perspective of the situation
right.
in which he joined the BJP government.
Yes.
For example, now Ajit Pawar stands accused of teaching Sharad Pawar, teaching the old ideology,
yeah.
and the Shahu Phule Ambedkar ideology, and joining the Hindutva saffron flag in his hand.
Right.
That is the situation. Now, what here Ajit Pawar is trying to say, that was, look, at the meeting which took place at Delhi,
yeah.
and subsequently in Ahmedabad.
Right. Kiran, we lost you there for a minute. We'll just go across to Reni Abraham. Reni, this whole fracas of Sharad Pawar, Ajit Pawar, this is a drama that, never stops giving. It's like a gift that never stops giving. What do you make of this latest installment of Ajit Pawar? Is he feeling politically threatened in the, in the alliance, and therefore he's putting out all these statements? What do you make of it?
Sandeep, more than any such threat he faces within this Yuthi alliance,
yes,
it is more a battle for survival for Ajit Pawar.
Right.
And unlike what a lot of people are suggesting, my take is very simple, that he knows that the roads to patch up with his uncle and rejoin his former party are literally closed.
Right.
So for him, after his Lok Sabha performance, where he was not able to deliver the goods, so to speak,
Yes.
1 out of 4 seats that were contested by his party, he is very keen to be able to at least have a good showing in this Vidhan Sabha elections.
Yes.
Although he has been handed a very small portion of the
He has the smallest
288,
number of seats that
assembly
he's
seats.
contested, right? Of course. So
Exactly.
it is literally a
But
battle of
there you
survival
are.
for Ajit Pawar, and he has to, put up a very impressive showing next week if he has to actually survive. And he's been an eternal chief minister in waiting, Brajesh, for the longest time. For more than 20 years now, he's been the chief minister in waiting. How critical are the elections literally for the future of Ajit Pawar?
I think, the election is very crucial for several players.
Yes.
The first and foremost, it will decide who the real NCP is.
Yes.
It will decide who the real Shiv Sena is.
Right.
It will decide the stature of Devendra Fadnavis.
Yes.
If the BJP doesn't perform well and Mahayuti doesn't form the government,
Yes.
I think the stature of Devendra Fadnavis will take a big hit.
Right.
What is happening is that, if you look at the utterances of Ajit Pawar, he's making all kind of placatory and reconciliatory notes to his uncle Sharad Pawar.
Right. He's keeping his options open.
He's keeping his options open.
Right.
He went on to say, something which we have said and heard and said so many times, that only that when in the interview asked, what is in the mind of Sharad Pawar. So he said, like, Sahib ke dimag mein kya hai? वो भगवान जानता है या साहेब जानता है. So, and then he goes on to say that when I put my wife against
Yes.
Supriya, I committed a wrong, but
Right.
now Sahib is doing wrong by putting the grandchild against me,
Right.
and it is wrong of what is happening in Baramati.
Yes.
So he is sending all kind of placatory and reconciliatory tone. I think he has also realized
Right.
that if BJP and Shiv Sena Eknath Shinde, they get enough number of seats,
Yes.
his maneuvering margin
Yes.
goes down considerably.
Right.
That is the reason why he's keeping this option open.
Yes.
He is taking on nobody else other than the BJP.
Yep.
Nawab Malik is another case in point. When
Yes.
BJP was dead against giving ticket to Nawab Malik, they gave ticket to, they were okay with ticket being given to his daughter and all.
Right.
But he gave ticket to Nawab Malik, and Nawab Malik
Yes.
is also saying now that we are the kingmakers and we will decide once you win who wins as
Right.
to who we are going to support. So
Right.
he's also keeping his option open. So I think it's a very interesting where
Yes.
MVA is kind of turning into MVA plus NCP Ajit Pawar as well.
Right.
And I will be not,
Okay.
it'll be foolhardy on my part to completely rule out that option.
Right,
now.
absolutely. When it comes to the Pawars, you can't rule out any option. And indeed, Kiran Tare, tell us what is Sahib ke dimag mein kya hai, as Brajesh was saying. What is Sharad Pawar planning? I mean, he seems to have returned the favor that Ajit Pawar did to him in the Lok Sabha elections by allowing Supriya Sule to win, if you can call it that, by fielding his nephew against Ajit Pawar. What is Sharad Pawar's game plan, Kiran Tare?
Sharad Pawar's game plan, if you can describe it in one word, that's called as Badla.
Right.
Pawar believes in Badla, and this kind of revenge, this kind of revenge Pawar is going to take.
Yes.
This is absolutely evident in this election.
Right.
So Ajit Pawar was right when he said that it was Supriya versus Surendra in Lok Sabha.
Yes.
That's why it is Yogendra versus Ajit Pawar in this election.
Right.
What I was telling earlier, sorry, I lost my connection.
Yes.
But why Ajit Pawar introduced the old chapter which happened in the five
Right.
years ago,
Yes.
Delhi and Ahmedabad. There was a meeting between Ajit Pawar, Sharad Pawar, then Devendra Fadnavis, Praful Patel, Amit Shah, and surprisingly Gautam Adani.
Yes.
That meeting took place at Gautam Adani's house.
Right.
So Ajit Pawar is trying to say that it was originally Sharad Pawar's idea
Yes.
to join the India government, but Pawar ditched at the last moment. But I could not do that. I had to keep my word, and that's why I have joined the NDA.
Yes.
In a way, he is trying to discredit Pawar. What Pawar is saying that I will never join the hands with the BJP, and Supriya, who is very loudly saying
Right.
that it is impossible to join the BJP government. But
Right.
here, Ajit Pawar is trying to say because Sharad Pawar, who had actually mooted this idea to join the India government, so he's
Yes.
trying to safeguard himself within the Mahayuti alliance, because Mahayuti alliance, they are looking at Ajit Pawar as someone who is spoiling the game.
Yes.
Ajit Pawar is someone who is not up to
Yeah,
the mark.
yeah.
Ajit Pawar is the person. Because of him, the Mahayuti may not get the desired number of seats. That is why Ajit
The
Pawar
weakest
has
link, as
come out.
Brajesh was saying, yes.
Yeah,
That's why
the
he's come out.
weakest second-
But Kiran, I
come
just want to interrupt you here. This theory that Sharad Pawar was actually behind Ajit Pawar's move to the BJP, and the Shiv Sena is not a new story. It was there about 5 years back as well. Was it Devendra Fadnavis
Ajit Pawar,
opened that?
Ajit Pawar has made this statement
Yes.
so many times that he didn't take out the name, he didn't give out an exact details, but
yes,
he said
the guest list.
He didn't give the guest list, but he said several times that it is at the behest of orders of Sharad Pawar or his prodding. I went and joined this. It was all done with the blessings of Sharad Pawar.
Right.
But I don't know whether this expose has hurt Sharad Pawar even wee bit.
Yes.
But what it has done is that it has embarrassed the BJP party like anything. Now you say, so Priyanka Chaturvedi's tweet yesterday, where she ended Bol Dharavi Bol. Ending it with Bol Dharavi Bol. And it has given an ammo to Congress. Where the entire Congress party has gone hammer and tongs. They're not mentioning Sharad Pawar. But they are saying that, who is this Gautam Adani to do this political brokerage? And this is something which Rahul Gandhi has been saying for a long time. So I think, he has damaged BJP a lot more than he has damaged Sharad Pawar.
Ajit Pawar has damaged
because
the
Sharad
BJP,
Pawar, if you remember, if I may just have 10 more seconds, if you remember, when Rahul Gandhi was going hammer and tongs against Adani and saying that, the BJP is giving everything to, it was Sharad Pawar, when one picture came out of Sharad Pawar with Gautam Adani, which blunted Rahul Gandhi's attack on Adani like anything. They said, what do you have to say now?
Right, exactly.
And the BJP went after the Congress party rather than the other way.
Absolutely. And Sharad Pawar has a way of conveying a lot, through photographs, Brijesh, like someone else that we know. And Sharad Pawar did that very famously, Reni, 5 years back, that historic picture, if I may say so, of Pawar in the rain. Was it in Sangli or in Satara?
Satara.
That is literally the match-winning shot for Sharad Pawar. That's
completely drenched.
Yeah, it was drenched.
With hands like this.
A politician literally in the twilight of his career, standing up there, is there any possibility of rain in Sangli or Satara, Reni, this time around? Does Sharad Pawar have to do that again?
Well, very little possibility, although, if you remember, just only last week, his daughter, Supriya Sule, tried to resurrect something similar to the ED notice that was issued back then in 2019 to Sharad Pawar, which he exploited to the hilt and did his, rain dance speeches, which really was able to effectively get the NCP to elect 54 MLAs in Maharashtra, right after having been decimated in the Lok Sabha elections a few months before. And Supriya Sule tried this last week by trying to suggest that a legal notice had been issued to Sharad Pawar by another politician, which was immediately denied by the concerned politician who said, no, I have not issued any such. But you're right. I mean, that was effectively utilized, and that shows you that Sharad Pawar is the master strategician.
He's a master strategician as well. And, Kiran Tare, there's another recurring theme in all of this we've touched on, and that's your favorite topic. The story that you broke, Dharavi. Tell us what the elections in Maharashtra really mean for the Dharavi redevelopment project, which Gautam Adani is going to undertake in the next couple of years. Is there a school of thought that believes that regardless of who comes to power, Gautam Adani still gets to build Dharavi, or is it completely a contrarian view that we could have, that the Congress-led government could take a rethink of the Dharavi redevelopment project? Kiran Tare.
These two parties, Congress and Shiv Sena UBT, they have definitely opposed the Dharavi project under Gautam Adani. They are not saying that Dharavi should not be developed, but they are damn opposing Gautam Adani.
The award of the tender to Gautam Adani.
The award of the tender to the TDR rights and all those things, giving him parcels of lands across Mumbai. That is the point of opposition. But as far as I know, the political situation in Maharashtra, if Sharad Pawar is a part of the government, whichever government it is, whether it's MBA or some other combination which is being talked about, whenever Sharad Pawar is a part of the government, Adani can't be removed from this project, because the combination between Sharad Pawar and Gautam Adani is much beyond than a friendship. They are very close, they have very close bonding, and Pawar will definitely oppose taking the project out of Adani's hands. Whoever is the chief minister, that is immaterial. So whenever Pawar is in a decisive position, he will not let Adani to scrap this position, to scrap this project. As far as Pawar's and his combinations are concerned, let me tell the viewers and everybody of you here, Narendra Modi is going to address his last campaign rally today in Mumbai,
Right.
at the iconic Shivaji Park. But this is the first time Narendra Modi hasn't uttered a word about Sharad Pawar. He hasn't criticized Pawar at all,
Yes.
as if he has absolutely neglected that Sharad Pawar exists in this state.
Right.
So why Modi is not taking Pawar's name, and why Pawar is not blatantly attacking Modi? This is another topic of discussion going on in Maharashtra. Something is happening behind the curtain.
Yes.
And Adani is, of course, a common factor. Adani is going to play a
Yes.
big role after the. That is what the
Absolutely. I
latest,
think,
development.
yeah, you just broke the news here,
I think
Kiran.
it's
and-
4+1 either which way you look at it. It's like Ajit Pawar coming to Maha Vikas Aghadi 4+3+1 or Sharad
Or
Pawar.
Sharad Pawar is. That's the way it works in the house of Pawar, and you just heard it from our experts over here. That is the one family in Maharashtra. It's the first family of Maharashtra now. It's not the Thackeray family anymore, Brijesh. It used to be at one point, but today in Maharashtra's coalition-ridden politics, it is the house of Pawar that plays a crucial role, and that's the reason we're talking tonight about the Pawar factor. Thank you very much for joining us, Brijesh, my colleague Kiran Tare, Reni Abraham on the News 9 Plus show.